Let's go. I'm so excited. Welcome to our all new Unstoppable Growth podcast, where Rebecca and I are transitioning from the Unstoppable Duo podcast, where we interview different couples to see how they experience breakthrough. And in the in-between time, so much has been going on. We've had a couple of 90-day breakthrough experiences. We stopped podcasting. I think we had like 32 episodes with couples. And God has been doing a great thing, not just amongst couples, but amongst singles, elderly people, young people, middle-aged people, and and between different cultures, different backgrounds. And so we're so excited that we can restart this podcast and it not be just geared towards couples, but geared towards anybody who wants to grow and experience unstoppable growth. Anything else that you want to add to that?
You pretty much said it. Welcome back to the ones who've been listening to us before, and welcome to the new ones joining us.
That is awesome. Over to you, Brian.
All right. Well, thank you, Tim and Rebecca, for letting me join you today. I'm excited to talk about Unstoppable and all the awesome things you guys have coming up in the short term.
Yes.
There's a lot happening in the next couple of months. I would love to just start off by learning a little bit more about how Unstoppable came to be. Right? What was the original vision?
What was the original vision? So the original vision, Unstoppable all started during COVID. What was it, 2020?
2020.
2020. My goodness, the year of all years. And we had just gone into, what did we go into in COVID when we all stayed at home? Lockdown. We all went into lockdown. It wasn't that much of a lockdown. It was, for a couple of months, it was pretty much a lockdown here also in South Carolina. And started just talking to God and asking him, what we should do with this time. And I felt as if God said to us, I want you to write down everything that you've learned over all these years. I've given you so many pastors, I've given you so many mentors, I've given you so many coaches, I've given you, you've heard so many messages, you've gone to so many conferences, seminars. I want you to start to think about what are the most important things that you've learned over all this time, and write it down. And I thought at the beginning when I started to write it down, I thought it was going to be for our children, and so that they could take something and run with it. But then it turned out to be for other people as well. And so we gathered our first group. We had 22 people down in the basement here at Seacoast Church, or Dream Team Central. It's not a basement. It's a beautiful area where we care for our volunteers here at Seacoast. And we had the most incredible 90 days. And after that, half of the group wanted to continue and invite others to have the same experience. So it all started to go from there.
Yeah.
And how has it evolved? I know that first 90-day experience, I think it was even called something different.
Yes, it was called High Impact. High Impact, that was the first variation of it. Do you want to talk about how it evolved?
Yeah. The cool thing was we wanted to just kind of try it out. How does it work with people? How does it work when we have them going through, and with everything going on and almost a push from them? Hey, that was so good. We know people, they need to experience that too. We know people, we want them to have the same or similar experiences. And out of this, we started developing it of, okay, in what rhythms could we do it? How many could we invite? Who could start becoming a coach? Because part of the 90-day experience is not only you get like this awesome inspirational content from my husband, Tim, but it's also one of the big thing is you are part of a coaching group with a coach that is asking you every week. And there you start reflecting and processing your own stuff and developing your own plans. And with that, you start getting to know other people. So it's not only, hey, I'm not so alone. It's also other people. You get to know them and you start opening up and processing it different. And so it was like almost a push from the people because they loved it so much. Let's go on. And out of this, it never takes much from him to come up with vision and come up with systems and strategies. So out from there, I would say we started, okay, can this really be a regular course? Can this be something that can be multiplied? Can this be something that actually can grow? And that's where we are now.
Yeah, I will say, going through the 90-day experience, the community is real. Like, really, really, last night, for example, last night was First Wednesday, that community sitting around you, like you could feel the love. It was, it's pretty remarkable. Not just the 90-day experience, but that community that you're building.
Well, the thing is, like when you go through a 90-day experience and you become vulnerable, so the first month is about getting everybody vulnerable, because we know that when you share about your deepest, challenges but also your best celebrations, that's how you connect with each other, right? You don't connect with each other by presenting yourself to each other. You connect with each other by sharing your painful experiences. And that vulnerability just sets the stage for the rest of the 90 days. It's like, okay, let's go. And then after 90 days of sharing with each other, what are you going to do? I mean, you've made best friends. I've shared things with people in the 90-day process that I haven't shared with anybody, only with Rebecca, And so it really is an incredible experience, which provides that connection post 90 days as well. Yeah.
Yeah. You talked a little bit, Rebecca, about the coaching. And I know how passionate you are about those coaches and developing those coaches. Where does that come from, that passion for coaching?
From my perspective, I mean, Tim said in the beginning he had so many, and like so many poured into him. And for me, it was the totally opposite. It's maybe also the time then, the upbringing, growing up in Switzerland, in Europe. There weren't that many women in leadership, and so there weren't definitely that many groups or places where women got invested, or you could turn to. I mean, you always could ask others, and I still recommend this, but it wasn't a common thing, or not as easy maybe as it was. It was never easy even for the guys, but I think it was easier. So I never experienced it, but it had for me the point, so why am I not starting it to others? There are always people following you. There are always people looking up to you. Why am I not the one to them what I was missing of getting? And that's, I think, where it comes from.
Yeah, I love that. And it's almost amazing to me how well Rebecca coaches and how she's the master coach at Unstoppable. She's like the person that asks all the questions and knows how to draw stuff out of other people. And not having experienced so much of that coaching yourself to be able to give it to others and reproduce it in others. We have, 27 coaches now, and you're going to become a coach and others are becoming a coach. So we're going to up that number and just keep producing coaches, because we know that coaching, mentoring is really the key. So many people have so much information on the internet. You don't need more info. You've got so much information, so much great content on the internet, but there's nobody coming alongside of you and helping you through that process. Yep. And that's the coaching group. That's the coach. Whereas, in a normal small group, maybe it's more like discussing a topic, praying over things together, where here there's a coach really leading the process and asking questions to help you continue in your journey.
Yeah, that's great. You talked a little bit about where Unstoppable started, where it is today. What are your plans for the future? I can't imagine you just want to stop now. Yeah. What do you have in store for Unstoppable?
Well, it sounds crazy. It sounds really crazy. And I don't talk about this a lot. I only talk about this with sort of the inner core of Unstoppable, but I'll mention it here on the first episode of this podcast. I will declare my intent, which is one of our weeks, one of our chapters at Unstoppable in the 90-day process. We really want to reach 1 million disciples. Mm-hmm. So think about it. There are so many people that make a decision for Christ or haven't made a decision for Christ yet, but they're still not living out their God-given purpose. They're stuck in their situations. They're stuck in financial challenges. They're stuck in relationship challenges. And it's become, so much a part of their everyday life that they're just living in it. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's challenges, maybe it's a good life, like you possibly share in the future, or maybe here on this podcast, how you were living a great life, but still like it was like we talked about it, climbing up the ladder, and then at the top of the ladder, reaching the ladder's leaning against the wrong wall, right?
Yep.
And so just helping people come out of those situations and helping them experience their God-given purpose, because we know that when people really engage with Christ, invite his transformational power into their lives and become empowered disciples, that's going to change the world. And so that's what we long for, that's what we live for, that's how we've led in the past, and we really look forward to leading like that in the future. So 1 million disciples.
I love it. What can people expect out of Unstoppable? I'm sure there are people listening or watching that are thinking about signing up. What can they expect from this 90-day experience?
I always say it's like a holistic course.
Yeah.
It's something that covers pretty much every area of your life. It's not only maybe you struggle financially, and there are a lot of great courses around it you can attend and do the work. We do have a topic of finances as well, but it's really pretty much everything in our life, because we believe, you heard a couple of times now, living out your purpose. And for many people is they don't know what their purpose are. They don't know. I know I'm called to make disciples, but what's my role in that? How does this making disciples look like for me? And one of the main takeaways that you will have is you will create your own why statement. Why do you do what you do? And this will pretty much give you guidance for what's next. And so what you will have, it's the first month, like Tim said already, it's owning your story. It's looking, where do you come from? Why am I the way I am today? There's a purpose behind that too. And then the second month is what has God given you? So with everything that you have, from where you come from, is what do I actually have? And in this last month is we bundling pretty much everything up. Who I am, what God has given me, what I'm actually going to do with it. And you will create a vision board. So it is process of looking back and even figuring out who you are. Maybe why do you feel the way you feel, and why do maybe you responded the way you've been. But there's a lot of new intentionality that comes into your life to see how can I maybe change some things in my life for the future and live more intentional with the purpose that I know this is my calling, this is my mission that I'm going to live out.
Yeah, I love that. And my favorite part, I don't know what your favorite, my favorite part is month 2, where we dig into, your unique purpose. We dig into the 5 roles that God's given people. We dig into the 5 capitals: spiritual capital, relational capital, physical capital, intellectual and financial. And at the end of the second month, people walk away with their own personal why statement. And that's incredible. That's a game changer for I think, I always tend to exaggerate, but it's like, it's a game changer for every participant. It really is, because when they can formulate it, when they can put it on paper, and they can walk out of that and they can say, I know my why. That's that turns everything upside down. So it's like, afterwards, when you are asked to join a team, well, you can compare it to your why statement and say, maybe I should join. I know, okay, this is a team that, strengthens my why. Should I invest my money over here? Yeah, this is my why statement. This is what I'm about. Yeah, I'll invest over there. It just makes making decisions so much easier, and brings so much more passion and energy to your everyday life. So, yeah, we're excited. That's what a lot of what you get out of the 90-day experience.
I will say this: the why statement. Mine was to use my testimony to help people with their next steps with Jesus Christ. And here I am on a podcast with both of you talking about bringing 1 million people through Unstoppable.
Yeah.
So when I put that why statement together, I didn't really think of how I'm going to do it. I just did it.
Yeah.
And then I'm listening to the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
That's awesome.
It is amazing. Any stories out of Unstoppable? The first couple of, do we call them seasons, semesters?
Yeah.
Any stories that really stand out or touch your heart from those first couple of groups?
They're different ones, and the different ones really come out from people who I would say they went all in, nothing to lose attitude of placing everything, talking about everything, and allowing God pointing things out to receive healing or receive a new perspective or receive even a healing for in their relationship. We had people, a couple of, they had, like he had a relationship with someone else and she knew but no one else knew, and it was the first time he talked about it, and with the all-in attitude, him talking about it and experiencing, I'm not going to be judged, they're not walking away from me. And for her, I remember the first evening when she said, because he shared, now I'm free to speak as well. And in this speaking, finding a freedom and finding even a new hope for moving on. Only because bad things happen or we make bad choices, it doesn't mean the future is bad now. It's actually, how is God using this now that we can be strengthened, that this becomes our weapon, that this becomes our message that reaches other ones and gives hope to them. And so, like, this is one couple that stands out, but other ones just even tackling their finances, looking at it differently. If not, hey, I'm owned by the money, or it's so challenging, actually I get to own it and I get to manage it, and I'm going to tell where it goes. And with this, the freedom that comes out of this and the strength that comes out of it, of, hey, I'm leading. And so they're different people experiencing breakthroughs by stepping up and just tackling maybe one theme that changes so much in their own life.
Yeah, for me also, I mean, similar stories. The very last Saturday that we have together in our 90-day experience, everybody gets up on stage and shares, in 2 minutes or 3 minutes, shares their takeaway, leave behind. And, I love that Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even thinking about it, I get emotional. But it's just incredible just to hear, story after story of what people experienced. And I'm always surprised by the level of detail or concreteness of what they've experienced. It's not just sort of like generic, general sort of life is better now than it was before.
I'm more positive.
I'm more positive
or
whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I bought a house or I sold a house.
Yeah.
Or, Jacqueline's story, which we heard in the last round of Unstoppable, is one of, it's just a great story in the sense that somebody who got the courage to stand up and say, I'm not too old to make a change. Mm-hmm. I'm not just going to retire and let everything, I'm not just going to let life take me on. I'm going to take life on, and I'm going to take this bull by the horns, and I'm going to recommit. And stepped out and applied for a new position, got a salary increased 78%.
Wow.
And so very concrete changes in people's lives that not only benefit them, some people would say, oh, wow, that's good for them. No, it's good for us all. When they experience God in a very personal and concrete way, we get encouraged. Our faith builds up for what God wants to do in and through us. Now she is in a position of influence where she has a team of, I think, 40 or 42 people, where she can influence all these people. And she wasn't in that position of influence before. So there's just a lot that goes with all this transformation that is personal, but is exponential in its influence of other people around them.
I love that. Courage is a big thing. I think when I think about my experience, it's just the courage to take that step. It's the courage to put your past behind you. Whether it was a tough past or it was you thought it was okay at the time. That's what I kind of learned was, I thought everything was good, but there was something really missing. And Unstoppable really showed that, and then gave me those directions step by step.
And I think your commitment to the process was also great. You were somebody who said, okay, I'm just going to do it, and there are people that go through the process, the 90-day experience, and don't experience the kind of miraculous transformation that others do because they've held back. And that's their decision. That's okay. But if you don't hold back, I remember one guy at the end of the 90-day experience on that fourth Saturday was so courageous.
Yeah, I remember.
And he stepped up and he said, after hearing so many different testimonies and stories, he said, I've just realized that I didn't commit to the process and I didn't experience the change. And I'm sorry I didn't. And I mean, that was powerful. Yeah, and I know he was sorry about it, but I was also so happy for him in that moment because a light bulb went off, and I'm sure that now he's making a difference. I'm sure he's making different decisions and applying himself in a different way, which was just
Yeah. It was obviously amazing to hear all the great stories, but I remember that, and it was just like, wow, he is being vulnerable.
Yeah.
That was a cool part of that day, was hearing that testimony.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of what's coming up with Unstoppable, I think you have an in-person coming up. Is there an online coming up as well? What's next with Unstoppable?
Yeah, there's so many moving parts at Unstoppable at the moment. It's like, I'm like, oh no, I'm not in control anymore. We're not in control anymore. It's like, but it's really good. And so we have actually 3 90-day experiences coming up. Maybe that's interesting for some of the people who are listening in and want to maybe join and be a part of it. We have an in-person 90-day experience, the typical one that we do here at Seacoast Church. It starts on September 9th, and everybody's welcome to join us and experience it for themselves. And then we have an online 90-day experience coming up, which is on Wednesdays at lunchtime. I'm so excited with our online pastor, Ryan Scott. We're going to have a great time with each other. And you can join online. We'll be doing it in Zoom and breaking up into different coaching groups. And then we have a 90-day coaching experience. And a lot of you won't be a part of that, but so that you know, that's a possibility. Like when you go through the 90-day experience, you can also apply to become a coach. And we want to really, it's like training the trainers. Yeah. We want to make sure that long-term that we can reach our goal and really empower people to coach others. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on. And then we have the
One Night.
One Night. Do you want to say something about that?
On August 23rd, here in Seacoast, Mount Pleasant in South Carolina, we will have our first One Night where we invite all the ones who been through Unstoppables, the one who are signed up already for Unstoppable, and the ones who are just ready to just get to know maybe a little bit Unstoppable, mainly get to know this God, because in all of this, I mean, we say the unstoppable growth, and we only experience it, the unstoppable growth, because we have an unstoppable God.
Yeah.
And having the One Night should be also the reminder, hopefully, and the encouragement of, hey, there is a God that sees you. There is a God that cannot be stopped. We might face challenges, or we might think that's the good way it is now, but there's actually so much more. We would love to stir the hunger. Spiritually, we would love to give the room where we have more time in also worship, here an encouraging word, but also hear testimonies of people who went through, because having testimonies not just hopefully an encouragement for the ones who are going through or are interested, but it's also an encouragement for all the ones who went through, as a reminder too. What was it that I experienced? Or maybe what was it I experienced afterwards? Maybe you didn't do the work then, but you started implementing some of the things afterwards. And the whole God is at work, and he hasn't stopped during the 90 days, and he will definitely not stop in the following coming days. And so having a time where we gather together and just reconnect in communities and with people and God.
And I think at the close of the 90 day, at the close of the One Night, we're going to release the book. So our very first book at Unstoppable Growth, this is not going to be the last book, because we've got so much to dig into together, but it's our first book, Unstoppable Growth, and it's like, I don't know what it's like to give birth to a baby.
But out of my perspective, I think having a child is easier than having a book.
Oh, really?
But I can't imagine that it's more painful to birth a baby than it is to birth a book. But we have such a great team of people around us who have helped us write this book and produce this book, and we're excited to release this book. We think it's going to be a huge benefit as we go through the 90 days. You'll be able to read a chapter and prepare yourself for the next upcoming week. But you can also get the book, and you can walk through the process without going through the 90-day coaching. And maybe you want to go through the book first, and then you want to connect afterwards in a coaching group and have a coach help you go through the process. That's up to the reader.
How did the book idea come to be? I've probably said a million times in my life, like, I want to write a book. Like, how did that actually happen? And walk us through that process. It sounds like it's like giving birth. So would love to learn a little bit more about that.
The problem is I told people that I want to write a book. If you keep that thought, that's the best way to go about it. Just keep the thought to yourself. But no, I think it was from the very beginning, it was there because that's what God told us. Write down what you've learned. And so, this isn't a fictional book. It's not written well. It's written I think it's written well enough. Every chapter has a personal story from my life, but you work through the book. There are exercises. There are exercises in that book that we don't do in the 90-day experience. So the book is there to really help people go through a process of transformation. Because so many times we say, go change yourself. Be different, or we give content. Here's a video. Here's another video. Here's another book. Here's another thing. But this is actually a book. It's actually a process. It's not a book about the process. It is the actual process, and so that's the idea behind the book. And we hope it will be a blessing to others. And we also, believe that content, when we produce more content, it will help people go deeper and experience more and more transformation, and will outlive the experience. The experience is 90 days, but we need to continue the process, and that's what the books are all about. Then to keep the process going.
I'm so excited about the book. I'm excited about One Night. What can we expect at One Night?
I mentioned before, it's going to be testimonial, it's going to be worship, and it's going to be an inspirational message from Tim.
Yes, I think I haven't prepared the message yet, but we'll figure out something. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great time where we get together, and for some of us it'll be a regrouping. For some of us it'll be the first time that we're there and just getting to know people. And for us it's very important that we welcome in everybody. That if you've gone through Unstoppable, you're welcome. If you're about to go through, or if you're just thinking about going through, you're welcome. You have a spot, you have a place, and we look forward to you being there.
I'm excited about it. It's going to be an awesome night. I know it. Rebecca, you said a few times, and I've wanted to ask you this question for a while, and I heard it a lot during Unstoppable, freedom. Right? And you talked about one of the things that you hope people get out of this experience is that freedom. Mm-hmm. I think of freedom as just I live in America and I have freedom, but I know it's a lot deeper than that. Would you mind explaining really what you mean by freedom and what people can expect if they're able to achieve that?
Freedom is pretty much all in with, if I put everything out, knowing that there's a God that loves me anyway, and I have nothing to lose attitude, everything that comes out of it is real freedom, because I do not have to hide anymore. We are very good in certain areas that we share with other people. We have this lifestyle maybe that people look at us and we have to live it up for it. But very often we have areas or experiences that we just carry and hope. Yes, we have maybe asked God for forgiveness about it, and we have maybe talked about it once, but it's still hidden and we're ashamed of, or we're afraid of something, but we're not really sharing it. And so I wouldn't call this freedom. I would still say we are held back by something. And then if you go all in, and if you say, you know what, even for the 90 days I have nothing to lose, why not just sharing? It is a safe place. So especially in the coaching group that you add, those are your people. Then the coach is not changing and the people are not changing in your group. You get to know each other pretty well in that. So it is a safe place where you actually can talk. And whatever is said there, it's not going to be used by other ones unless you start using it as your testimony. What's very often happens to people realize, as soon as I start talking, the freedom is the experience of, I have power over it anymore. The experience, the shame or whatever has no more power over me. And this is what I say, that's real freedom, of just go for it, experience it, let it out, speak about it, but also allow God to speak into you and maybe point some things out and just try it out by, be committed, do the process, and then freedom is very often not things that I'm in control of. It is, I think that's why very often people, when they go parachuting, they feel this freedom of out of control. And it's almost the same. As soon as I let go of control, when I let go of what I think has to be, and I'm allowing trying new things and speaking about it, this is a freedom I believe God has intended for us to be, to knowing I am loved by my Father in heaven. I know who I am. And that's why I don't have to be held back by whatever anymore.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, about also, you know, the freedom that you have talked about, just being vulnerable, not caring about what people think, and being at a table and not thinking about what other people think and just saying what's on your mind. That is like the greatest freedom. It's absolutely awesome. And, you know, I think a lot about the ministry of Jesus and how he healed, how he preached, but he also did he freed a lot of people from demons. And when you think about it, you know, it's maybe a little bit difficult to understand, but a demon is a power, that it's an entity that is exercising power over you. It's making you powerless, and it is so, you know, and it's like a foreign entity doing that. And I think a lot of the time when people walk into the 90-day experience, they've got this foreign entity dictating their lives. And it's like, you know, whether that's what other people think, whether that's the career that they're in, whether that's, you know, the struggle that they have at home. They're suffering under this foreign power. And when they go through the process, you know, they're with their coach, they're in their coaching group, and they experience this freedom. It's like they're being freed of these foreign powers, and they're being able to live out their God-given purpose. And when you break through and you break free from that, I think that's an exciting experience.
Yeah, it's freedom.
Yeah.
It was tough as a male, right? I don't want to be vulnerable. I want to come off as somebody who's in charge and confident.
Yeah.
But I would say to anybody who is going to go through this experience, like, be vulnerable. It really can change your life.
Yeah.
But it was tough. You got to get over that hump.
Yeah. Wouldn't you even say that you have the real confidence now?
Yes.
Being vulnerable leads you to real confidence.
I shared things I would have never shared. Yes. Yeah. I 100%. And the confidence is now in God.
Yeah.
Not myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just about to ask, what would you say is the difference between the confidence you had before and the confidence that you have now? But
it's from God. It's not based on what I've done or didn't do.
Yeah.
It's that I know God sent his son to die for me and forgive me my sins and give me the opportunity to have an unstoppable life if I follow that path.
Yeah. Amen. Come on.
It's a great path. I love it. Okay. So if people want to sign up for Unstoppable or get more information, where can they go? What can they do?
So yeah, you can, there's a lot going on. The best place and the most central place to get information about Unstoppable is to go to our website, which is unstoppablegrowth.org. You get all the details there, and you also can register for the online 90-day or for the in-person 90-day breakthrough experience. And the online starts September 6th, and September 9th is the in-person breakthrough,
And for one night, if you want to go, just show up?
Yes, there's no registration for one night. It's in the chapel at Seacoast Church. Are we actually, is that going live?
I don't know.
Okay, we don't know. We don't know if it's going live. Let's see if we can
yet.
stream that. We haven't talked about that yet. We are going to tape it, but we don't know if we can get it live. So come to the chapel at Seacoast Church on Wednesday, August 23rd, 6:30 p.m. Just show up. We're gonna have a fun time together.
So excited. Is there anything you kind of want to say before we kind of cut, just in terms of Unstoppable? Any final words?
For me, it is Unstoppable. I hope listening to this, it stirs something in you. Hey, I want more too. And I believe God has more for me in my life. Do not just be satisfied with what is, but also if you're facing some challenges, know that's not it. That's not the end of the road. And so maybe you have the chance to attend Unstoppable. I recommend the attending one, especially because of the connection. That's going to be interesting. How we're going to create this for the online people because they're not really have an in-person meeting. But even that you have the chance to attend one, to just say, I'm worth it. Our Father in heaven loves you so much that he wants you to have more as well. And so steering the hunger for more with knowing we have this unstoppable God, and then tackling the things in your life.
Yeah, I think unstoppable growth is for anybody who wants to grow. It's for anybody who wants to take their career, their relationships, their relationship with God to the next level. That's who's unstoppable for. Unstoppable growth is not for people who don't want to grow. And believe it or not, there are people out there that just don't want to grow. Now, they would say maybe they want to grow, but they're not in a learning attitude. They're not in a
let's do the work attitude.
Yes, or even a submissive attitude, coming in and saying, okay, I'm going to submit to this process. I'm going to submit to my coach or whatever. If you're that kind of person, the 90-day experience is not going to be a great thing for you. But if you want to grow, and if you're willing to put in the effort, if you're willing to submit to the process, to the coach, you are going to take your life up a couple of levels. And you'll be so excited and so happy that you participated.
I've been to a number of conferences in my life, and self-help conferences and all of that, and usually forget anything that you heard 2 or 3 days later. I think it's 5 or 6 months since the 90-day experience I went through, and I'm more fired up than ever about it. So it's just, you two are such a blessing to my wife and I, into the whole Unstoppable community. I just thank you for I don't want to say thank you for COVID. It was bad. But if this is what got you thinking about it, some good things came out of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Praise God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.